Gemini has access to Google Drive, Gmail, and most of the Google apps. ChatGPT does not. I tried both, and here's what I discovered. Well, I'm natively a ChatGPT and Claude user, so most of my work does get done over there, and I don't really need to explore other apps unless absolutely important. But when I heard Gemini's integration across Google Workspace, I got intrigued and I said, let's find out. So I tried doing 3 tasks, which I do regularly on Gemini, and I wanted to figure out, is it going to be helpful for someone who is natively living in the Google Workspace? Now, before we move ahead into discussing what the tasks were and how the results came out, here is something that I want you to know, an important distinguish between Gemini and ChatGPT. Gemini has direct access to all Google apps. So you don't really need to go and copy and paste something there in order for it to work for you. It is integrated very well across your Drive, your Gmail, your Google Docs, presentation sheets, all of it. And ChatGPT or any other LLM, on the other hand, they don't have direct access to your Google space in that sense. So you need to connect each and every app of Google to this particular LLM in order for it to give you the results that Gemini is giving you. So that is one of the biggest difference between Gemini and ChatGPT. Before we move ahead, I want to show you something important about Gemini that we are going to work with throughout this video. This inbox, it's a Gmail inbox, and I click on this icon here called Ask Gemini. You can definitely chat anything in this inbox, but at the same time, you will also have an option where you go directly on gemini.google.com and then the app opens here, and you have an option to chat here as well. Now, this one that you see right in the inbox and this one that you see here are slightly different in their capabilities, and that is actually very important to know, because if you want to search something in your Gmail or your Drive, in fact, if you even go on your Drive and click on this button, Ask Gemini, and you start a chat here, this and this one here will work in the similar fashion, but it will not be the same as the Gemini app. And it's a very important difference to note, because throughout the demos, we are going to use this one, which is integrated in the workspace. And like me, if you are also someone who's a little finicky about your privacy and you're concerned about your data, which you should be, then just a disclaimer that Google Gemini, the ones that you use in the Gmail and the Drive, it explicitly states that this conversation is not going to be used to train our AI models. However, it is used to enhance their workspace services, which is similar to any other enterprise cloud software that you're going to use and has those same terms and conditions. So yes, it is safe to use it in your Gmail as well as Google Drive and other workspace. All right, let's dig into the first task that I did with Gemini. So task number 1 is me asking Gemini to summarize emails for me. I've said summarize the top 5 promotions email for me and tell me if there is any action step required from my end. Of course, I've intentionally used the promotions inbox to keep the private stuff away, but the work is pretty much the same. So even if you do it in your inbox, you will get similar results. Now, notice it talks about Eventbrite's invitation, TEDx Gateway, again, something else and something else. And then it says that there are no active or pending actions. And it mentions that the deadline is already passed for this, of course, because this is a promotions one and it's from 2024. So here's something worth noting, that it did not mention Anthropic's email in this summary. And because I've done this, given this prompt before, it told me that there were some security reasons that it found this email fishy, which is why it has not picked it up. But yeah, you have to notice that there are the prior tech advancements that may interfere in this, which is, you know, Gemini analyzing spam and fishy emails and then not really mentioning those here. All right, so this is something pretty interesting that ChatGPT can do only if you connect Gmail as a connector to it. Now I'll show you something even more important. If I just open this chat and I go on a new chat and I ask to summarize this email for me and share action points, it says it's asking me to explore local nightlife, musical events, dining experiences, and select browse nightlife if I prefer to look for their current offerings. Notice it has summarized everything, which is what the action points are, what the email is about. Now think about this to be incredibly useful for someone who's forwarding long thread emails to you, which you have to take action on. Now, if you have a boss or your colleague who constantly forwards long thread emails, which you have to take action on, whether it's for clients, partnerships, any kind of campaigns or plans. Earlier, it would take literally hours for you to go through each of these, what each one said, what was the action point, what was followed up later. But now, if you just show the thread and you ask Gemini, can you summarize this for me, maybe including the timeline, imagine the hours you save by doing this. Awesome, isn't it? Task number 2. This is something that I feel it's okay to use ChatGPT for, but because you do it in Gemini, that extra step is reduced. Okay, so this is about summarizing a document or a sheet or anything on Google Drive, any kind of document format, PDF, whatever it is that you've uploaded on your Drive and you want a summary for, or you want to find something in your Drive. All these things that is about finding or summarizing, other than what we saw in the email category for now, is something that we'll explore here. Okay, so here I have a document, which is an article, and in this, there are a lot of different sections. I'm just trying to ask Gemini, provide me with a simpler breakdown of why access matters. Let's see what it comes up with. In case I did not show this to you, this is where you get Gemini from in your docs or presentation or any other file. Okay, so notice it has come up with a nice, neat breakdown. Now, I don't really want to read this, but it has given me a good breakdown. If now I ask Gemini to modify this in the document, it does not do that. So if I say, please go ahead and make the changes in the document, it honestly does not. Notice it says unsuccessful, and it just says that you can manually go and update this. So it's just giving me an option to copy and then replace it. Now, I'm not sure if this is actually a limitation or it is intentionally built like that with Gemini, because in ChatGPT or Claude, you get the direct updated file. So if you can just say modify and then provide me another file, it will give you that. But here it does not. It restricts that and it asks you to do it manually. Now, this kind of modification or changes, it's of course possible in Claude, ChatGPT, and other LLMs. Just the fact that you need to upload that document there, download it from your Drive. All of that is the additional step that is required here. And with Gemini, it's direct. You just click on Ask Gemini and then ask the question. That is the major difference here. Comes the third task. This task is more or less done by ChatGPT, decent enough way. And maybe in future, that gap will also reduce. But at the moment, this one is phenomenal. If you ask a question to Gemini about your campaign or some kind of a link that you want to find for a particular document, it does a hybrid search in your Gmail as well as your Google Drive, basically your entire Google workspace, and then comes up with the links that you were looking for. So initially, when you had to do a different or a particular search in Gmail and then a different search in Google Drive, that gets eliminated. Plus, ChatGPT or Claude, I am not sure if they have this feature, even if you connect your Gmail and other workspaces at the back end. I haven't simply used that one, but here in Gemini, this one does look promising. You can do this for yourself and actually find out. Of course, the links are personal, which is why it is not being displayed here. But if you do a chat similar to all the previous examples that I've shown and ask Gemini to get you all the links, it will give you all the sources, including email as well as the Drive links. Another important thing to note is not the Gemini integrated app, but the Gemini app in general has another interesting feature, which is giving you the live data. something that ChatGPT and Claude have not yet reached, but of course, the gap will close soon. It is all about the knowledge cutoff. All these LLMs are trained on a certain set of data. So they have a knowledge cutoff. For example, some LLM is being trained up to the information of 2024 or 2025, but nothing beyond that is updated in their system, which is why sometimes they can give wrong information. Whereas in Gemini, because it pulls data directly from Google as its source, it has most recent information about almost everything. And that is a significant difference as of now. And definitely all these LLMs are going to catch up, but it is really interesting to know that this data is pretty helpful for Gemini, all the live updates. Of course, that's not to say that Gemini does not make mistakes. It does, but it relatively has better data pull, better knowledge cutoff. There you go. Now you know where all Gemini is genuinely helpful. And honestly, it's not really a comparison between Gemini versus ChatGPT. They are both doing different tasks in different manner. And Gemini is genuinely useful if you are using or living in Google in that sense, and you want to summarize documents, emails, quickly search through your workspace. Whereas, of course, ChatGPT does all the other things like, analyzing longer documents or thinking better, thinking about complex topics, strategizing. All those things are really very well done by ChatGPT. So next time when you're deciding between Gemini and ChatGPT, think about the task at hand and then open the tab that you think is the most useful. And I hope that was helpful. See you around.